Good evening, you guys, or good morning, or whatever it is when you're watching this. It is Christmas Eve when I'm recording this, so I want to say Merry Christmas Eve and Merry Christmas. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful time. As you guys know, we're practicing something that I was told is consistency. So I'm just showing up here talking random shit on the internet, which is not as hard to do as I thought it would be. So for today's show of random shows that I'm doing, I wanted to talk about my worst roommate and living situations in New York City because you guys, now that I think about it, I've had some of those crazy roommate horror stories and I've never really shared them with anyone now that I think about it. So I figured, why not, if you're watching this on Christmas Day, when I hope to get this out, and you're having not so much of a fun holiday, maybe you can feel better about your life while listening to the horror stories that I endured while living here in the beautiful Big Apple. So as I've said many times before and in previous videos, I've lived here now going on 12 years. I've kind of lost track just because I feel like it's extremely traumatizing to live here. And I feel like we don't really remember much when we live in New York City. So I'm guessing it's around 12-ish years. And I've had some crazy living situations. Even though I was homeless for about a year and a half, there were times within that experience that I did find little places to stay here and there that required a lot of money and were absolutely horrible and terrifying and crazy and weird. So one of my first and earliest memories of being able to live somewhere was in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, when I first moved to the city and I was staying with a so-called friend, which honestly, I think now the experiences that I've had with friends have made me literally not make, like I just, now that I'm going through it in my mind, I'm like, oh, that was something that traumatized me. So I met this girl while I was coming down here and kind of getting my shit together. Like, maybe I'm going to live here. I'm going to go to this acting school. It's going to be great. I met this girl and I was like, I don't have anywhere to stay. Like, is it hard to find a place to stay in New York City? This is how dumb I was. And she was like, oh, you can stay with me for like the summer. My mom is away with her boyfriend in like some part, like Italy or something. And she was like, I have a house. I have extra bedrooms. Like she was rich. And I'm like, okay, because like, why? Like, okay, like whatever, I don't care. So I stayed with her for about a week and I thought she was like super cool because she had a pet snake. And if you guys know me, I love snakes. So I was always like touching and playing and holding her snake and all this stuff. It was going well. Everything was going good. We worked at the same place, which was a private like underground party thing. And everything was cool for like, so like, I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to live for the summer. Awesome. Like, great. One fucking day, I'll never forget this. It was around like 10 o'clock in the morning. I just hear screaming and arguing downstairs. Like I hear a man's voice screaming. I hear her voice. I hear another woman. And I'm like, I jump up in the bed and I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on? And then lo and behold, she comes up the stairs and I'm laying in the bed, kind of just like, just go ahead. She was like, yeah, you have to go today. Like now. Like my mom's not having it. And I was like, I thought you said your mom was okay with it. And she was like, I didn't think she was going to come back to the end of the summer. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, how do you get that fucked up? Like, are they coming back in a week or are they coming back at the end of the summer? So I really don't understand her. And I just remembered her name actually. So she was like, yeah, you got to go. And I can imagine being her mother. And I'm pretty sure that she didn't tell her that I was staying there. And her mom being like, who the fuck is that random person sleeping in our guest bedroom? Like, what? So it was a hot ass day and I packed my shit up in the car in my trash bags that I have. And I'm like, great, we're 1 week. That was cool. Like at least I got 1 week of someplace to stay. So that wasn't really like terrible, right? Like it wasn't terrible. She lied. We stopped talking. We weren't friends anymore. So, oh my gosh, guys, these stories are fucking crazy. So I'm like, do you know anywhere else that I can stay? Like, I literally don't have anywhere else to stay. I don't want to be sleeping in my car again. I already done that, you know. She's like, well, I do know this lady that rents out rooms in a house like 2 or 3 blocks away. It's like a big house, like 5 floors. She rents out to people. She'll rent the room out to you. Like, here's her number. Call her. Maybe she has something like in the next couple of days or whatever. So I call this woman and she's like, yeah, I actually have a room available to rent as soon as possible, as soon as you want it. And she was like, the room is going to be $600 a month. It's going to be first, last month, and security. And I'm like, I don't have, like, I was like, I don't even, I literally, I was like, okay, I had probably like first and last months. And I was like, I work tonight. Like, I make really good tips. Like, maybe I'll make like half of the, you know, for like, I'll make half of what I still owe you, you know, tonight. Can I just come? I'll give you all the cash that I have, like right now, like literally everything that I had. I was like, can I give it to you right now so that I can put my stuff? And this is the same day that I got kicked out of my friend's house. I was like, can I give you my stuff and just leave it in a place so that I know, peace of mind, I have somewhere to come back to, even though I worked in fucking Brooklyn. Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, by the way, was a 45-minute drive away from the tunnel to get into the city. And then once you get into the city, it was like another hour drive to, actually, I was working in Queens. It was another hour drive all the way out to freaking Queens. And so where I worked at. And she's like, yeah, you can come. You can like, you know, drop your stuff off. I'll take the $1,200 cash from you. And I'm like, okay, good. Like, nice lady. Like, she's okay. Like, she wanted the first, last, and security, but I only had $1,200 on me. Like, almost exactly. So I go into the house. I meet her, you know, we kind of just, she shows me around, shows me the rooms, and a lot of the rooms are locked. People actually live there. So she was like, you're going to get a key to your room. You're going to get a key to the front door, back door, all that stuff. She's just showing me around. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like in a panic because I just don't want to be homeless again. So I'm like, fine. Thank you. Give her the cash. I'm like, I'm going to be back around like 4 a.m., 4:35 in the morning. And I will have like at least another $300-$400 for you. And then I will still owe you like $200 more. And I'll just, you know, please. And she was like, that's okay. Like, okay. So I'm like, all right. So I realized that I gave her all my money, right? And I didn't think about having to pay the toll to go in the tunnel or something. I don't remember. I was paying a toll. And so for some reason, while I'm driving like into the city and stuff, I'm like, oh shit, I have no money to pay these. Like, I'm like, how do I get off from like paying these things? Cause I think it was like $10 or $15 at the time. So definitely got tickets for those. I don't know what happened to them. I do remember going through one, they had me pull over and I was like, I have no money. I can't give you anything. I have absolutely nothing. I need to get to work. And the woman was like looking into my car and she's like, you're going to get a ticket. Like, it's going to be like, I'm like, that's fine. But like, I can't be pulled out of my car and like arrested for this, you know, back when they used to arrest people in New York. And she was like, no, go ahead. It was so fucking weird. And I go to work. I make more than what I thought I would, but I was like, let me just like try to keep $100 for myself so I can get food in the morning, you know, drive somewhere to like a bakery or something, get food. I get to the house. She's fucking awake. Okay. I was like, maybe I'll give it to her in the morning, like 10 o'clock or whatever. I walk in at like 5 o'clock in the morning and she's sitting there with these 3 massive dogs in the living room. Like, I think massive, like bull mastiff, huge dogs that I did not see when I first moved in, when I first met her, because they were locked up in her bedroom. But now they're out in the living room. They were all laying around her. And she's like, as soon as I walk in, she's like, do you have the money? And I was like, I have what I said I would have, yes. And I'll never forget, she made me like walk up to her while she was sitting on the couch. And I'm like kind of afraid to step around these fucking dogs. These dogs were huge. Like, what's that kind of dog? What's the kind of dog that Rosario has? Yeah, it's like one of those Italian like kind of guard dogs, huge. She has 3 of them. Yeah, and I feel like I'm live streaming, but I'm not. And this is supposed to be like a put together YouTube video, but I told you guys that I wasn't doing that shit anymore because it never paid off before. So I feel like I'm on a live stream on TikTok and I'm not. I'm going to have to clean this up just a little bit, even though I don't want to. stepping over these dogs, and I'm like a little fucking nervous, but they were fine. She's like, oh, they're fine. They're not going to bite, whatever. I go upstairs. Now, mind you, I had no bed. I had no bed. All I had were my clothes. So the room was carpeted, and it was one of those thick ass carpets that like your foot kind of pressed into. So I was like, okay, I'm sleeping on the floor. I had sheets, but I had no bed. I had no air mattress. I had no cot. I had nothing. So I lay out the sheets on the floor. I roll up some of my sweatshirts, and I just sleep on the floor in this dark ass room with one like little window. My bag's all up against the border of the bedroom. I lock the door. I'm like a little bit fucking nervous because I didn't see anyone else in the house, but also I got in at like 5 o'clock, and she told me most of them worked like full time. So next morning happens. I wake up. I'm still alive. I'm like, okay, like she didn't, nothing crazy. Okay, this is your new home. I go in the fucking kitchen. I go down. And so now my bedroom was on the second to last floor, like the second to highest floor. I go into the kitchen. There are like 8 men in the kitchen, like making coffee, eating eggs, like ironing shit. And I walk in and I'm just like, and she's sitting in her same ass chair. She was a woman that didn't really get up. She wasn't really concerned about her steps of the day. And I walk down and I'm like, hello, good morning. And they're all kind of like, some of them are like tattooed up like crazy. Like their head was tattooed, and then a couple of them look like, business people, like almost finance guys. And they were kind of minding their business. But I was a little bit like, I guess I didn't think about the fact that it could be all men living here. So the rule is obviously when you live with multiple people, you don't eat other people's food in the house. And I had no money because I gave her every cent of my money to keep my stuff there to have the room. So I had no money for food or anything. Well, I had that extra $100, but I was planning on going to Target and getting an air mattress because I could not fucking sleep on the floor. So I was like, I need a decent ass air mattress, and I know it's going to be around, $60 to $100, and I'm not going to waste gas to go drive to like a supermarket and get some fucking bread right now. So I asked one of the guys that was making coffee. I was like, "Do you mind if I have some of your bread?" He was like, "Absolutely not. Like, make yourself some toast, like whatever." And like he introduced himself to me, shook his hand, and he was probably like in his 30s. And I'm like, why is a man in his 30s living with like 7 other? I was like, what? I was like, is this like a government house? Like, is this a halfway house? Like, what is going on? And I knocked on her double door closed freaking living room that she didn't allow anyone in. You were only allowed to use the bathroom, the kitchen, and your bedroom. You weren't allowed, she had like a patio. You weren't allowed to sit on the front porch, the back porch. You weren't allowed to go downstairs in the basement where she had like ping pong tables and shit like that. You weren't allowed to do that. So I went and I was like, excuse me, do any women live here? And she looks at me and she was like, why is that a concern to you? And I was like, I just think I missed asking who lived here. And I just am wondering. And she's like, I don't have any women that live here. And I was like, that was it. She didn't even, her tone didn't like make it seem like there was any further discussion. And I was like, okay. So a few nights passed by. I'm like, okay, now I know that I live with a bunch of men. Okay, cool. Like, got it. And then one day I'm in class because I was still going to acting school. I'm in class and I am itching like freaking crazy. I am itching. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I go to the bathroom. And I'm like itching. I unzip my dress. I remember this. I know exactly I have a picture of this dress, myself in this dress. It was like a blue and black dress. And I unzip it. I check my bra. I'm like, why am I itching? And I'm like, I feel like things are like biting me. So I go back, I sit in class and I'm like I'm so uncomfortable. I'm like, fucking things are biting me. I don't even know what this is. I've never heard of this. So of course we go to Google like during my break in class and I'm like, what could be biting me in my clothes? And what pops up? Bed bugs. Never even fucking heard of. I've heard of bed bugs like in a nighttime prayer. Good night. Like don't let the bed bugs bite. I've never, and I'm like, bed bugs, what the fuck? And one of my friends in class noticed that I kept going to the bathroom so much in class, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm itchy. And like, have you heard of bed bugs? And he just goes, do you have bed bugs? I was like, how would I know if I had bed bugs? I don't know if I had bed bugs. He was like, well, where do you live? I was like, in a house with like 8 men out in New Jersey with like 3 dogs, no bed on the floor. And he was like, okay, like maybe you have bed bugs. So I go home that day and I try to explain to her. I'm like, I'm itchy. Like what? Like, she's like, oh, like, you know, that happens. Like maybe it's like mosquitoes. And it totally convinced me. I'm like, okay, it's like mosquitoes, whatever. So I stop home. I tell her all that. She's like, maybe it's mosquitoes. She's like, go to the supermarket and get like Raid and all this stuff and spray the perimeter of your room, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I guess whatever. So I go and do that. And while I'm there, I make a stop at Target and I get an air mattress. And I'm so fucking excited for this air mattress. It's like a double one. I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm going to have some place to sleep on tonight. I have sheets. I have everything. And so I set up the air mattress. I go to bed. And in the middle of the fucking night, I am getting bit. Like, it feels like little, like, pinches. Like, my nails are so long. This is, like, perfectly how it just feels like little pinch. Like, just, you go like this, and you slap it. Like, so it's like, it's insane. It's maddening. So I jump up. Now I'm flipping the fuck out. Now I'm like, I'm paranoid. I'm like, I'm under attack. It's the middle of the night. I go out of my room and I'm afraid to knock on anyone else's door. 1, because like these are grown ass men. 2, because it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and it's dark. It's so dark. And it was so dark in that house. And that house was really scary. So I try to knock on the door that leads up to the attic because that's where the guy lived that was like super nice to me in the morning. And I knock and it's locked. I even tried. I shouldn't have, but I did try. Locked. No one is answering me. I go into the bathroom and I'm like trying to get close to the mirror. I'm like, are there fucking bugs on me? And then I take all my clothes off in the bathroom. I put them on the counter. And I start just going so close to it. And I see like 6 bugs in my clothes that I am sleeping in, like in my pajamas. Like they're like, and I'll never forget what they look like. I can't describe it, but they're flat, like brownish red, tiny bug. And I'm like, there's bed bugs. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's a way to get rid of this, but it's just so creepy. And you're just like skeeved out a bit about it. I go back in the room. In my room, I Google everything about bed bugs. That's how I am. Like, I will find out every little thing about something. And it says to take your flashlight on your phone and go to the corners of like your bed and in your sheets and in the divots of the mattress. Why do I take the flashlight to the end of the air mattress I just blew up? And there are bed bugs just in the air. I just blew this fucking shit up. And then it says they will also live on your curtains, your window curtains. Well, there were curtains. And I look and I put the flashlight up and there's bed bugs on it. So now I know there's straight up fucking bed bugs. Not only are there bed bugs, I had taken my clothes out and folded them up against the border of the bedroom. So there were bed bugs all in my fucking clothes, like in everything. Not only had I been in my car, there were bed bugs in my car. The next morning, because I couldn't wake anyone up, and this is after I've already given her first, last, and security, whatever the fuck. And I had been there probably like 8 or 9 days. The next morning, I go downstairs to where she is in her fucking living room, and I'm like, excuse me, you have bed bugs. And she was like, oh, honey, I know. The exterminator's coming later on this week. You know? I said, so what am I to do? She was like, you can put all of your clothes in dark black trash bags because they don't like dark. She gave me this whole thing remedy. Like I had to wash them in really hot water, like hot steaming piping water, and then put them all in trash bags and try to get rid of them. tell me what the fuck. I was like, I need my money back. What do you think she said? I was like, I need my money back. I have to move out. I can't live here. Like, I'm terrified of bugs, and now they're living on me and in my clothes. I need to move out. She was like, well, I'm not giving you your money back. And I was like, but I've only lived here a week. Like, what is a week's worth of rent? I'm leaving. She was like, you can leave, but I'm not giving you your money back. So I call the police. This is like in the moment. And I tell them, and they tell me, are you on the lease? Do you have a lease? Do you have a written up lease? Are you being kicked out? Are you being forced out? Has a domestic issue occurred? And I'm like, she has bed bugs and she's keeping my money and I'm moving out. I've only lived here a week. They were like, if you're not on any lease and you don't have any paperwork, then there's nothing we can do. Gone. Money gone. I still moved the fuck out. I was like, I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. I put my clothes in the trunk of my car in these 3 big black trash bags. These were all the clothes that I had, by the way, except for like what I left at my mom's house when I moved out. Like, but all the clothes that I had in New York. And I cried. I cried so hard. I sat in the car in front of her house and cried for like 2 hours because I was like, not only am I back on the street, but now I don't have any money. And this woman just got like, what's 600 times 3? 18. This woman just got $1,800 cash from me, and I lived here for a fucking week. I drove back to the city, and I was like, I'm just gonna, now we're back to fucking square one. But it got worse because the bed bugs didn't go anywhere. They just stayed in my clothes. And then they got out of the fucking trash bag somehow when I would open it probably and change my clothes in the car. So now they were all in the car. They were in the car. And I was like, they would be in the seat of the car. Like I'd be driving, they'd be biting me all over the place. And it was one day in class that I just like could not, like I just couldn't stop thinking about things. Like I was just like I was crying in class, and my friend just took me out in the hallway and he was like, what is going on? I was like, I have bed bugs and they're in my freaking car now. I need to bring my car to a car wash. I don't have enough money for a car wash. And he was like, okay, I got you. Like I'll pay for a detailed car wash for you. Like, and I was like, no, like you can't do that. But I really needed it. And he took me out to this car wash in freaking Connecticut, which was, you know, beggars can't be choosers. They detailed my car, but they were like, they washed the car. They were like, you got to get rid of all these clothes. They're never going to get out of these clothes. You got to get rid of them. Like they were just like all over the place. So in that moment, I took out all the fucking clothes that I had, except for the ones on me. And I left them. Like I literally left them. They were like, we can discard them for you. Like if you want. But I should, like a little note, like that place was my friend's family's like car wash. So that's why they would do that. They obviously wouldn't take shit. You know what I mean? And they discarded that. So I left with a clean ass fucking car and one fucking outfit that I was actually wearing. So I show up to work, which was out in Queens, sketchy ass place. So the outfit doesn't really even matter. And then I wound up making like $400 that night. And, I used that to buy like at least like new clothes to like get through shit. That's story number fucking 1. I could do like 3 hours of this. I'm not going to, and I'm not going to be able to do like every single story. So if you guys want more stories than what I'm able to tell on this episode, let me fucking know because they get crazy. So now this story is insane. And actually it's crazy because this story has actually never left my mind. Like a few of these stories I don't really think about, but this one is one that really stuck with me. And I'm jumping around. So none of this is in really chronological order. It's just how I'm remembering it right now in the moment. But I found a place in North Bergen, New Jersey, 1 bedroom in an apartment complex. There weren't many apartments. My grandfather actually helped me move into this apartment. And if my mom heard this story, she would remember this whole situation because the moving in was traumatizing a fucking enough. The grandfather hasn't always been the nicest person to me. And that evening was one of the bad episodes. So I'll never forget what it was like moving in there. I was just a complete burden to him. And it was just terrible. I cried. It was awful. The rent there was $1,200 a month for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, like decent size. I was young. I found a place. I found it on Craigslist. I was looking in parts of New Jersey because it was way cheaper than, New York. And I was starting to feel like I'm never going to be able to afford to live in New York. Like, it's just, can't believe my dreams that I had of living in New York are just never going to fucking happen for me. So I'm just like looking, and I would type in Craigslist, like cheap apartments in Jersey, and like places I've never heard of popped up. So this place was in North Bergen, New Jersey. There was no elevator. It was like about I think it was on the second or third floor. I had to enter through this interesting alleyway-ish, whatever. The landlord was this like skinny guy, short, white, like skinny neck. Like, I just remember that skinny fucking neck. And he dragged his feet while he walked, and he kind of like sunk in his pelvis and hunched his shoulders when he walked. So it was just like when he walked. $1,200 a month. I had to give him first and last. Move in, 1-bedroom. I got a new air mattress. Grandfather kind of helps me move in. There's furniture already there. The furniture is like from the freaking it's like out of a 70s adult film. But it was a couch. And I was like, we don't really have to sit on the couch. Like, we just need like a place to sleep, place to shower. It was not like the best. It was just like, it was what it was. The neighborhood was quiet. Right down on the corner was the bus that I would take, the off-brand, no label bus that was $10 to get from North Bergen to the city, which was about an hour and 15-minute drive to get to the tunnel. Once you got to the tunnel, it was another hour and 15 minutes at least before you pulled into Port Authority. And what they don't tell you is that you cannot get off the fucking bus while it's waiting in line at Port Authority. Even though it's on a street, you have to wait till it pulls into the port for them to let you off. So I'd be sitting on the street in the bus like for an extra hour and 15 minutes. Because they couldn't just drop you off any fucking where, whatever. So I was okay. I have to be at work at 8. I'm going to have to leave my house at 2. That means I'm going to have to like wake up by like, I woke up around, I always woke up in enough time to listen to the Elvis Duran morning show. And I believe that show ran from 6 to 10 or 5 to 11, whatever. I caught the fucking show. I loved that show. I love listening to talk shows. I get that from my mom. She used to have Time Journal morning show on in the car. I love listening to podcasts, talk shows, all of that. So I would wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, do my shit. Like, I don't even remember what I did, to be honest with you. I don't fucking know what I did. But I got off of work at around like 4 a.m. So I would just sleep for probably like 2, 3, 4 hours, wake up. To be honest, I think the trauma has kind of blocked it out. So now here's where it gets fucking shady. One day I'm in the shower listening to music on iHeartRadio. And I'm just like chilling, dancing, whatever in the shower. Get out, do my makeup, getting ready to go. I would always have a bagel and cream cheese like every freaking morning. Bagel and cream cheese every morning. Make my bagel. I go outside. I go out the back little alleyway that we had to go out of. The landlord was in the front of the building, and he was just sitting in a weird ass fucking outside chair. And he says to me, he was like, "That's one of my favorite songs." And I was like, and I just think it doesn't occur to me. Like, I was like, oh. I was like, okay. Like, maybe I did have headphones in. So I'm like, maybe he can hear my music. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I love that song. Doesn't occur to me. A couple days later, I'm in the kitchen. I get a phone call. The landlord's like, do you mind if I come up? I need to check underneath the sink. We've been having water dripping throughout the building. I need to make sure that your apartment is not the cause of it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, for sure. Totally come up. Now I was there like alone. So I let him in. And he's just fucking weird. He's like looking around. He's literally looking around, like not at the kitchen. He's just like this, like asking me. He's like, how do you like it here? Like, if you need anything, let me know. But he's just looking around. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, do you want to do the sink? Because I've got to go. Like, I have to go. And that kind of irritated him. And he got a little aggravated with me. He was like, well, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is okay. I'm not one of these slumlords. I'm just trying to make sure everything was okay. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. So I apologize. I'm like, okay, I just really have to go. So he checks the pipes. Nothing was wrong in my apartment. Like I didn't have anything wrong. I go to work. I come back at like 4:30 in the morning. My door is fucking open. I come in the house to go in the house and my door is open. It's 4:00 in the morning. I'm flipping out. I open it and he's inside the house with another guy pretending to check the pipes that he said or that I saw him check before I went to work. And I'm like, what are you doing? My door is open. And he was like, oh, we just had another issue with the pipes. I'm just checking everybody's kitchen, everybody's bathroom. Don't worry, we'll be out of here. We were hoping that you weren't going to come home and find us here. So sorry to disrupt you. Sorry about that. Like, he was so apologetic. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, maybe I don't know how things work. Like, I'm just a fucking dumbass young girl who can't figure out how to find a fucking apartment. Like, maybe I don't know how things work. So then I called my grandfather the next morning because I just felt a little weird. Like, I was a little scared to sleep there. And out like the bedroom, because it was a 1 bedroom. So I would always sleep in the bedroom with the door closed. I don't remember if I locked it or not, whatever. And I would put the air mattress up against the window. I call my grandfather in the morning and I'm just, kind of, like I said, I'm like a little nervous. He was the one who moved me into the place. Like, he met the landlord that, we went through and got the keys. Like, he met him, so I don't know. I don't know why I called him. He lived far away. Actually, everyone lived far away. There was nobody there that could like help me in the moment. And the way that I slept in the bedroom was I would put the air mattress right underneath the window because I was always so fucking hot. And I didn't turn on the AC or because it costs money. So the heat and hot water were included, but the AC was not. So I would just sleep underneath the window so I would get the draft going through. And so that morning I called my grandfather and I was like, hey, like, what should I do if my landlord was in my house when I wasn't home? Like, I know that's got to be like a thing. Like, that's got to be something. And he just flipped the fuck out. He was like, what do you mean? He was in, like, you have cousins that live in Patterson, New Jersey. Like, I will call. And I'm like, no, like, I'm like, just like, what should I do? What should I say? Is it okay? Can I get protection? Like, can you, help me with something? So, he couldn't do anything obviously that day. Nothing happened for a few days. Grandfather comes down and visits me and he gives me, and my grandfather used to work in prisons. So he literally comes down and gives me things that prisoners would make in order to protect themselves in prison. Like, I mean, the most janky shit you've ever seen. And he told me how to use it. And he was like, if anyone is in the house, like, if, whatever. And I'm like, okay, got you. Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Done. Now, here's how this shit turned south. This is going to be my last story because I got to try to keep these episodes short. So let me know if you want more, because I have 1,000 more of these stories. It's a Saturday. And I normally worked on Saturdays. Like, everybody who worked in nightlife works on fucking Saturdays if you're lucky. But this Saturday, I was not working. I don't remember why, but thank God, because I'm home and I'm sitting on this filthy ass, disgusting couch for a change of scenery. And I start hearing my door going like this while I'm literally sitting home, just like on the phone, like scrolling shit, whatever. And I hear my door start to open and I jump up and I'm standing there. I'm just standing facing the door. Like, imagine it. Just imagine, like, just hearing somebody about to come into your fucking house. And the door opens and it's the landlord. And he's like shocked to see me and he's drunk. And I started screaming. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in here? Like, I knew you were coming in here when I wasn't here. And I knew it was fucking weird when you said that you liked the same song that I liked. I was like, what the fuck is... And he's just like, you calm down. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. We can work this out. We can work this out. And I just looked at him and I'm like... And he comes in the house. He's in the house now. He's literally in the house. And I'm like, no. I'm like, you have to fucking leave. You cannot be here. You can't be here. And so here's where he had me. I was late on the rent by like 10 days. And he was like, well, you're late on the rent, so I could start to evict you now. And I could not be evicted because at this place, I had family involved in getting me into this place, not financially, but just they were there. My grandfather was there. He helped me move in. And so I was going to be so embarrassed if like I talked to him in a week and he's like, how's the place? And I'm like, yeah, I'm back on the street. Like, and furthermore, I did have family that wasn't too far, so they could easily try to come over and see me one day. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't live there. Just the embarrassment. So I really didn't want to be evicted. But at the same time, the landlord was like, you're behind on rent. And he legit says to me, and I'll never forget, he's wearing this fucking line. What's the pattern of your lumberjack shirt, John? He's wearing this plaid button up with these blue jeans and like, I don't know what kind of fucking shoes, but always like these like lanky shoes or whatever. And he goes, I know a way that you can make it up to me so that you can stay here. And I was like, I was shocked. I was like, what the fuck? And he said, but we can talk about it tomorrow. And then he leaves. And so that's when I started Googling like landlord in my house when he shouldn't be, New Jersey, because different laws, but pretty much kind of the same. Like, I mean, your landlord shouldn't be coming in when you're not home or whatever. So I started Googling. I literally look for like attorneys, like landlord has cameras in my house. I was convinced that I never found out if there were cameras in my house, but I was convinced that there were just because he said that he liked this song that I was listening to while I was in the shower. I started taking pictures of the apartment. I'm like, I can't get evicted, but I'm gonna so I called this law firm, this law office, whatever, in New Jersey. I was like, I think that my landlord has cameras in my apartment, and he offered me to not pay rent or like if I were to like, sleep with him. And they said, okay, like, the most that we can do for you in this situation without proof, because I didn't have any fucking proof, is that you can let him know that you have contacted an attorney. He's like, usually that scares them off. They kind of back off, like whatever. And I tried that and it worked. And I said, I'm not living here anymore. I need my security deposit back. I need to move out. Otherwise, I have already contacted an attorney and they will be in contact with you. And this motherfucker was like, okay, I will give you everything back. And I had already lived there about like 3 weeks. So he gave me back like the back portion of it, plus the security deposit that I gave him, plus another month so that I would not go to an attorney. In cash, gave it back to me. This little fucking man, I remember him to this day. The good part about it was I finally stood up for myself, like in these situations, like when I was like homeless and like getting ripped off all the time. Roomsforrent.com in New York City, never fucking use it ever. Rooms for rent with the number 4, never ever use that shit. And I was proud of myself that I was standing up for myself, but I was sick to my stomach that I would be back in the same fucking position again. And that I didn't know how to tell like my grandfather that literally this place that you took time out of, drove down here, helped me bring bags of clothing up. By this time I had accumulated more stuff and like a mirror, like a big heavy mirror and all this stuff, and moved me in, and like I just it was hard to tell him that I wasn't there anymore, but I told him that I just did not feel safe living there and that I had found another space in the city, which was a lie. I did not find another space in the city. I just told him that I did not feel safe there. So yeah, those are 2 interesting stories. I do have a couple. I have worse ones than that, actually. So yeah, let me know if you guys want any more of these. This is my longest episode. I'm going to try to keep this one. I'm going to try to cut it a little bit short. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.